It was amazing. I grew up on Richard Pryor. You can't even go back and talk about the book he wrote.
Yeah.
You know, and then what I got to do sometimes is explain, which I hate in big arenas, that this is a thought police thing, and I do not like it.
Tim Allen is back in the spotlight, and once again, he's ruffling feathers. For decades, he's made a name for himself, not just as a beloved comedian and actor, but as someone who's never been afraid to speak his mind, even when Hollywood wasn't ready to hear it. But now, one single tweet has set off a firestorm, and everyone's talking. The woke crowd is outraged, Twitter is on fire, and Hollywood elites are scrambling to call him out.
But here's the thing about Tim Allen. He's not the kind of guy who backs down. He's the comedian who leans back and watches the chaos unfold, never apologizing for asking questions or cracking jokes that challenge the status quo. And that's exactly why he's been a thorn in Hollywood's side for so long. This isn't the first time Tim Allen has sparked outrage, and let's face it, it won't be the last. He's built a career on pushing boundaries, both in his stand-up and on screen. Whether it's a subtle dig at political correctness or a full-on critique of Hollywood's double standards, Tim has made one thing clear: he's not here to play by their rules. His most recent controversy? A single tweet that hit a nerve like never before. The backlash was swift and furious. Twitter mobs lost their minds, accusing him of crossing the line. But let's get real. This is Tim Allen, the same guy who's been poking the bear for years. The same guy who once called Hollywood a place where, quote, "you've got to be real careful or they'll beat you up for not believing what everybody else believes." So how did we get here? How did Tim Allen become one of the most controversial figures in Hollywood, and why does he keep coming out on top? Stick around, because we're diving deep into the story of how Tim Allen has humiliated woke Hollywood simply by refusing to be silenced. Cancel culture has taken over Hollywood, and nowhere is that more obvious than in the comedy world. The days of pushing boundaries and making edgy jokes are fading fast. Now, every word is scrutinized, every punchline dissected, and one misstep can end your career. For most comedians, that means playing it safe. But for Tim Allen, it means doubling down. Tim has always been vocal about how political correctness is reshaping comedy, and not for the better. He's openly joked about how comedians today can barely make a move without someone being offended. To him, cancel culture isn't just ridiculous, it's dangerous. He said it's like being back in high school, where everyone's waiting for you to say the wrong thing so they can jump on you. And Tim's refusal to bow to that mindset has made him a constant target. Take his most recent tweet. It wasn't anything outrageous, at least not to most people. But to the Twitter mobs, it was unforgivable. They labeled him insensitive, out of touch, and accused him of crossing the line. And what did Tim do? The same thing he's always done. He shrugged it off and moved forward. This isn't new territory for Tim. Over the years, he's been called out time and again for his comments and jokes. When he joked about overhearing a teenager at Disneyland questioning his identity over liking skillets, social media erupted. They accused him of bullying and mocking a generation's evolving language about identity. But Tim wasn't mocking anyone. He was highlighting the absurdity of how overcomplicated simple things have become. And let's not forget his comments about Hollywood itself. He once said being a comedian in today's world is like walking on eggshells. The wrong word, the wrong opinion, and suddenly you're the enemy. But Tim isn't willing to tiptoe around sensitive topics. His comedy has always been about making people think and laugh, even if it makes some of them uncomfortable. For most people, that's what comedy is supposed to do. But in today's climate, it's become a risky game. And for Tim Allen, it's a game he's determined to keep playing, no matter what it costs him. Because in his own words, if comedians can't take risks, what's the point of comedy at all? One of the biggest moments in Tim Allen's career that put him at odds with Hollywood was the cancellation of Last Man Standing. The show wasn't just a hit, it was a ratings juggernaut. For 6 seasons, it resonated with audiences across the country, consistently ranking as one of ABC's most watched comedies. It was second only to Modern Family, a massive feat considering how competitive primetime TV can be. But in 2017, despite its success, Last Man Standing was abruptly canceled, and the reasoning didn't sit right with fans. ABC claimed it was due to scheduling conflicts, but many pointed out that Tim Allen's character, Mike Baxter, wasn't your typical Hollywood lead. Mike was a conservative family man, unapologetically outspoken about his beliefs. That kind of character was rare in mainstream media, and for a lot of viewers, it was refreshing. Fans weren't buying ABC's excuse, and the backlash was immediate. Petitions to save the show garnered hundreds of thousands of signatures. People flooded social media, accusing the network of canceling the show because of Tim's personal politics. Tim himself didn't shy away from the conversation, hinting that his political views and the show's themes didn't align with Hollywood's priorities. The cancellation wasn't just a shock to fans, it was devastating for the cast and crew. Tim later revealed how blindsided everyone was, saying, "We all thought we were at the top of our game. The show had a solid audience, a talented team, and plenty of stories left to tell. So, why was it dropped so suddenly?" Enter Fox. Just 1 year later, the network swooped in and revived Last Man Standing. It was a bold move, but it paid off. The show's loyal audience returned in full force, and it continued to perform well for another 3 seasons. For Tim, it was a major win. It proved that Hollywood's gatekeepers couldn't stop him from connecting with the fans who loved his work. What made Last Man Standing so unique was its ability to tackle real issues with humor and heart. From family dynamics to political debates, it didn't shy away from controversial topics. And that's what made the show and Tim Allen such a threat to Hollywood's carefully curated narratives. The cancellation might have been an attempt to silence Tim Allen, but instead it amplified his voice. It was a clear message that no matter how much Hollywood tries to push back, Tim Allen's audience isn't going anywhere. And for Tim, it was proof that standing firm in his values can lead to something even greater than he imagined. If there's one thing Tim Allen has learned, it's that even being tied to Disney doesn't make you safe from controversy. For years, Tim was the voice of Buzz Lightyear, one of Disney's most beloved characters from the Toy Story franchise. His performance was iconic, shaping how millions of fans saw the character. But when Pixar decided to make Lightyear a Buzz Lightyear origin story, they replaced Tim with Chris Evans. And that decision sent shockwaves through Tim's fan base. Disney never gave a clear explanation for why Tim wasn't brought back, but fans were quick to speculate. Many believed it had less to do with creative direction and more to do with Tim's outspoken views, which don't exactly align with Disney's progressive image. And here's the kicker. Lightyear didn't perform nearly as well as expected. Critics and audiences alike missed the humor and heart Tim brought to the character, and the box office numbers reflected that. For Tim, it was probably the easiest "I told you so" moment of his career. But the controversy didn't stop there. Tim's relationship with Disney took another turn when he reprised his role as Scott Calvin in The Santa Clauses, a sequel series to his popular Santa Claus movies. While fans were thrilled to see Tim back in the red suit, it didn't take long for the show to spark outrage. One moment in particular set Twitter ablaze. In the series, Tim's character makes a lighthearted joke about saying, "Merry Christmas to all." It's the kind of line you'd expect in a Christmas show. Simple, festive, and completely harmless. Or so you'd think. But the woke crowd didn't see it that way. Social media exploded with accusations that the line was politically divisive and offensive. One commentator even went as far as to say the joke was coded right-wing propaganda, with some labeling Tim Santa as a MAGA supporter. It was absurd. A Christmas joke on a Christmas show somehow became a political flashpoint. But for Tim, this was nothing new. What makes this even more ironic is that Disney brought Tim back in the first place. For all the backlash he receives, Disney knows Tim Allen has a fan base they can't ignore. He's proven time and again that he's box office gold, even if his views don't align with Hollywood's mainstream narrative. The drama around the Santa Clauses is just another chapter in Tim's ongoing battle with cancel culture. While others might shy away from such controversy, Tim uses it to his advantage. The more the woke crowd tries to silence him, the more people tune in to see what he'll do next. Whether it's Buzz Lightyear or Santa Claus, one thing is clear. Tim Allen knows how to weather the storm and come out stronger on the other side. Tim Allen's story isn't just about being an entertainer. It's about navigating an industry that often demands conformity while standing firm in his values. In Hollywood, where the prevailing culture leans heavily toward progressive ideals, Tim has carved out a space as one of the most unapologetic conservative voices in entertainment. This is no small feat, especially considering the challenges that come with pushing back against Hollywood's expectations. For Tim, the journey wasn't always smooth. Early in his life, he faced significant setbacks, including a stint in prison for drug trafficking in the 1970s. It was a life-altering experience, and Tim came out of it determined to turn his life around. That chapter of his life gave him a unique perspective, one rooted in personal accountability and redemption. It's a philosophy that has permeated much of his work and influenced how he approaches his career and public life. In the 1990s, Tim became a household name through the sitcom Home Improvement. The show wasn't just a hit, it was a cultural phenomenon. Tim played Tim Taylor, a bumbling but lovable dad who championed traditional family values and old-school humor. The show struck a chord with audiences because it celebrated the kind of middle America lifestyle that often goes unnoticed in Hollywood productions. Home Improvement made Tim a superstar, but it also hinted at the disconnect between his worldview and the broader entertainment industry. Even then, Hollywood wasn't quite sure how to handle someone like him, a man whose humor and values didn't fit the increasingly liberal mold of the industry. What sets Tim apart is his ability to channel these values into his comedy without alienating audiences. Unlike some conservative figures who lean heavily into divisive rhetoric, Tim's humor is grounded in relatability. Whether he's talking about family dynamics, parenting struggles, or everyday annoyances, he delivers his message in a way that feels authentic rather than preachy. It's this balance that has allowed him to maintain a broad fan base, even as his political views have drawn criticism. But it's not just his comedy that has sparked debate. Over the years, Tim has faced backlash for simply expressing his beliefs in interviews and public appearances. He's criticized political correctness, likened Hollywood's groupthink to dangerous levels of conformity, and openly supported causes that don't align with mainstream Hollywood ideals. His willingness to speak out has made him a polarizing figure, but it's also solidified his status as a cultural outlier, a comedian and actor who refuses to compromise his principles. One of the defining moments in Tim's career came with the success of Last Man Standing. The show was unique in its portrayal of a conservative protagonist, Mike Baxter, a character who shared many of Tim's real-life views. It tackled topics that most sitcoms avoided, from politics to generational differences, all while maintaining a comedic tone. The show wasn't just a success, it was a rarity, offering a perspective that's often overlooked in mainstream media. But Last Man Standing's success wasn't without its challenges. When ABC canceled the show despite its strong ratings, many fans felt the decision was politically motivated. Tim didn't mince words about how the cancellation felt like an attack on the values the show represented. The backlash was so intense that Fox eventually revived the series, proving that the audience for Tim's brand of storytelling wasn't going anywhere. Beyond his sitcoms, Tim's stand-up comedy has remained a cornerstone of his career. His humor is rooted in his own experiences, from his working-class upbringing to his time in prison and his journey through fatherhood. He's often talked about how comedians like Richard Pryor and George Carlin influenced him, particularly their fearlessness in addressing uncomfortable truths. For Tim, comedy is about honesty, even if it means ruffling feathers. But in today's climate, that kind of comedy comes with risks. Tim has often remarked on how much the landscape of stand-up has changed, with political correctness making it harder for comedians to take risks. He's joked that even words he heard growing up are now considered off-limits, a shift he finds both alarming and restrictive. Despite this, Tim has continued to perform, adapting his material without losing the edge that made him famous. Tim's willingness to challenge Hollywood norms extends beyond his own career. He's often used his platform to highlight the double standards within the industry. For example, he's pointed out how certain viewpoints are celebrated while others are shut down, creating an environment where diversity of thought is often stifled. This isn't just a political stance for Tim, it's a reflection of his belief in free speech and open dialogue. His resilience in the face of criticism has earned him a loyal following. fans appreciate that Tim doesn't try to be something he's not. Whether he's playing a character on TV or sharing his thoughts in an interview, he's unapologetically himself. This authenticity has made him a role model for those who feel alienated by Hollywood's increasingly narrow definitions of acceptable speech and behavior. Tim's career has also highlighted the changing nature of Hollywood's relationship with its audience. In the past, the entertainment industry largely dictated what was popular. But in the age of social media and streaming platforms, audiences have more power than ever to support the content they love. This shift has allowed Tim to thrive even when Hollywood has tried to sideline him. Shows like Last Man Standing and projects like The Santa Clauses have found success not because of Hollywood's endorsement, but because of fan demand. One of the most interesting aspects of Tim's legacy is how he's managed to remain relevant across generations. While older audiences connect with his traditional values and humor, younger viewers are discovering his work through streaming platforms. This cross-generational appeal speaks to the universality of Tim's themes: family, resilience, and the importance of staying true to yourself. For Tim, the journey hasn't been about chasing Hollywood's approval. Instead, it's been about staying grounded in the things that matter to him. He's often said that his comedy comes from a place of truth, and that truth is rooted in his own experiences and beliefs. It's a philosophy that has guided him through the ups and downs of his career, allowing him to weather controversies and remain a beloved figure in the entertainment world. In many ways, Tim Allen represents a throwback to a different era of Hollywood, one where stars were celebrated for their individuality rather than punished for their differences. In today's climate, that makes him a rarity, but it also makes him a symbol of resilience. For fans who feel alienated by Hollywood's increasingly one-sided narratives, Tim is a reminder that there's still room for diverse voices, even in an industry that often tries to shut them out. As Tim continues to defy the odds, one thing is clear: his legacy isn't just about comedy or acting. It's about standing firm in who you are, no matter the cost. Hollywood might not know what to do with Tim Allen, but his fans do, and that's why his career isn't going anywhere. Tim Allen's legacy is multifaceted, combining his immense talent as a performer with his ability to navigate an entertainment industry that often feels hostile to voices like his. What makes Tim particularly compelling is that he isn't just surviving in Hollywood. He's thriving, even as he openly challenges the status quo. To understand why Tim continues to resonate, you have to look at the way he stayed true to his principles in the face of relentless criticism and controversy. One major aspect of Tim's success is his ability to maintain a sense of humor, even when the pressure's on. Humor has always been Tim's way of making sense of the world, and he often uses it as a tool to address difficult topics. Whether he's tackling political correctness, cancel culture, or generational differences, Tim knows how to deliver his message with wit and authenticity. His comedy is sharp, but it's never malicious. That's a delicate balance to strike, and it's a big part of why his fans adore him. Tim's approach to comedy also reflects his personal philosophy, that laughter is one of the most powerful ways to bridge divides. He's often talked about how comedy should make people uncomfortable in the best way possible, not by tearing them down, but by making them think. For Tim, the goal isn't to offend, it's to provoke thought. That's a perspective that feels increasingly rare in a world where comedians are frequently pressured to avoid certain topics altogether. But Tim's comedy isn't the only place where his authenticity shines through. In interviews, he often speaks candidly about his experiences, his values, and his frustrations with the entertainment industry. He's unafraid to call out what he sees as hypocrisy, whether it's the lack of ideological diversity in Hollywood or the way cancel culture stifles creativity. Tim's willingness to speak his mind has made him a polarizing figure, but it's also earned him respect from people who appreciate his honesty. One of the reasons Tim has been able to maintain his career, despite the backlash, is because he has a deep understanding of his audience. He knows that his fans value his authenticity, and he never takes that support for granted. Tim doesn't try to pander to Hollywood or reinvent himself to fit the latest trends. Instead, he stays true to the values that have always defined him: family, hard work, and resilience. Tim's focus on family is especially evident in his body of work. From Home Improvement to Last Man Standing, His shows have consistently celebrated the ups and downs of family life. They highlight the humor in everyday struggles while also emphasizing the importance of sticking together, even when times are tough. It's a message that resonates deeply with viewers, particularly those who feel overlooked by Hollywood's more glamorous narratives. Another key to Tim's success is his ability to adapt without losing his core identity. Over the years, he's adjusted his material to reflect changing times while still staying true to his comedic voice. For example, he's spoken about how the language and tone of comedy have shifted, requiring him to be more thoughtful about how he crafts his jokes. But instead of seeing these changes as a limitation, Tim treats them as a challenge. He finds ways to stay relevant without sacrificing what makes his comedy unique. Tim's journey hasn't been without its low points. The cancellation of Last Man Standing was a significant blow, not just to him personally, but to the fans who felt a deep connection to the show. The series was more than just entertainment. It was a reflection of a perspective that's often ignored in mainstream media. When ABC pulled the plug, it felt like a deliberate rejection of the values the show represented. But Tim's response to the cancellation was a masterclass in resilience. Instead of letting it derail him, he used the experience as an opportunity to double down on his commitment to telling authentic stories. The show's revival on Fox was a testament to the loyalty of Tim's fan base and a clear indication that there's a significant audience for content that doesn't align with Hollywood's typical narrative. In many ways, the success of Last Man Standing is a microcosm of Tim's career. It's a story of perseverance, of pushing forward even when the odds are stacked against you. Tim has never been one to back down from a challenge, and that determination has been a driving force in his continued success. Tim's ability to thrive in Hollywood also speaks to a larger cultural shift. For years, the entertainment industry operated as a gatekeeper, controlling which voices and perspectives got a platform. But in the age of streaming and social media, audiences have more power than ever to support the content they care about. Tim has been able to leverage this shift to his advantage, connecting directly with fans who share his values and appreciate his work. It's worth noting that Tim's relationship with his fans goes beyond the typical celebrity fan dynamic. He doesn't just see them as consumers of his work, he sees them as partners in his journey. That mutual respect has allowed him to build a community that's both loyal and passionate. When Hollywood has tried to sideline him, it's his fans who have helped keep him in the game. One of the most compelling aspects of Tim's legacy is how he's managed to stay relevant across different generations. While older audiences remember him as Tim the Toolman Taylor, younger viewers are discovering his work through streaming platforms and new projects like the Santa Clauses. This cross-generational appeal is a testament to the timelessness of Tim's humor and the universality of the themes he explores. At the heart of Tim's career is a deep commitment to authenticity. He's often said that his comedy comes from a place of truth, and that truth is rooted in his own experiences and beliefs. Whether he's talking about his time in prison, his journey as a father, or his frustrations with Hollywood, Tim approaches every topic with honesty and humility. That authenticity is what makes him so relatable, even to people who might not share his political views. Tim's story is also a reminder that success doesn't come without sacrifice. He's faced significant criticism over the years, not just from Hollywood, but from parts of the public who disagree with his views. But instead of letting that criticism define him, Tim has used it as fuel to keep moving forward. For him, staying true to his values is more important than winning anyone's approval. In a world where so many people are afraid to speak their minds, Tim Allen stands out as a beacon of courage and resilience. His career is proof that you don't have to compromise your principles to succeed. Whether he's making people laugh with his comedy, inspiring them with his story, or challenging them to think differently, Tim continues to be a powerful voice in the entertainment industry. Ultimately, Tim Allen's legacy isn't just about what he's accomplished. It's about what he represents. He's a reminder that authenticity matters, that staying true to yourself is always worth it, and that even in the face of adversity, it's possible to thrive. Hollywood might not always appreciate him, but his fans do. And that's what will ensure that Tim Allen's impact is felt for years to come.